So, I mean, that's kind of what we're going to talk about today is your story as to how you got to where you are today. You are, I would say, about halfway done with PT school, pretty much.
Almost. Yeah,
Almost.
almost. We're getting there.
And really, you have about a year and a half, and you will be a actual physical therapist.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yes.
Kind of nuts, yeah.
And if you think about it, think about 5 years ago, you were still playing volleyball, right? Collegiately at Azusa Pacific. Yeah. So, I mean, kind of walk us through that. Like, how did you, I guess, become interested in this profession in sports medicine?
Yeah.
And kind of walk us through briefly your athletic career and some of the obstacles that you had to overcome.
Well, I think we got to start by rewinding the clock a little bit more than 5 years. It actually started maybe when I was 10 years old. So I remember going to a summer camp. Dave showed you, who was the head coach of UH at the time. He puts on these summer camps for kids every year. I went to one, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be a rainbow wahine, and that was my goal. That's all I cared about. So everything that I needed to do to achieve that goal, I did. And that was like an 8-year kind of journey in itself. So when the day came when I was actually on the team, it was unreal. And I just foresaw, if I could, work hard for 8 years and get myself to have the opportunity to play at UH, now my next goal was to be able to earn court time. And, I foresaw, if you put your mind to anything, you can do it. But sometimes life doesn't pan out that way. Adversity definitely hit the hardest during my time at UH. I actually was studying to go to medical school. That was my goal. So I ended up majoring in bio. But while I was a student athlete, I endured several injuries. So my first one was my ACL in high school as a sophomore. I came back from that. But then in college, I suffered 3 more surgeries. So my true freshman year in spring, I tore my other ACL. Really fun times. I think you just want it to be symmetrical. So that's my body was just like, okay, symmetrical.
Did a
symmetry.
good job then.
Did a good job. So I tore my other one. Came back from that. And then the 2013, I was a redshirt junior at the time. Beach volleyball had just come into becoming a sport and for the NCAA. So I actually tore my hand. I gained taper thumb. So I repaired that. And then 3 months later, I actually transferred to Azusa Pacific, like you mentioned earlier, because I wanted to continue my eligibility, but just a fresh opportunity. And then if I transferred there, I would have 2 years to play instead of 1 if I stayed in Division 1. But 3 months I got there, totally fun. 3rd day of double days, I tear my Achilles. And so that was my 4th season-ending injury, and I was like, all right. At that point, I was done. I was depressed. I was like, I don't understand why this is happening in the moment. Little did I know that all of these setbacks were really set-ups to kind of embarking on this journey of becoming a physical therapist. Prior to that, I had never thought about pursuing this profession as a career. Again, my plan was to go to med school. But I think because I had so much time on the table, I was the patient multiple times for so many years for some really serious injuries that requires a lot of effort and consistency and repetition. I decided that I want to pursue this because, the people that kind of invested in me and my care in moments where I no longer wanted to care for myself, kind of changed my life. It turned my life around. I saw and experienced firsthand how when someone, a healthcare provider, invests in you and really cares about you, they can, move mountains. They can do significant changes, not only physically, because I think a lot of people don't understand that going through an injury is not just a physical feat.
Huge psychological.
It's psychological, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's physical, it's like all of those things.
Social too, I mean, especially if you're a team sport. Even if you're not a team sport, it's very social because you're taken out of your social environment for a long time.
So, I mean, all those things, like I was just very, very emotionally drained, spiritually drained, psychologically drained, just everything. But it was really the people that took care of me, like you, and the people at Pro, and just everyone, the therapists, trainers, doctors, you know, I really saw how, you know, a life could impact a life.
Yes.
And now looking back in hindsight, that's when I made the decision. I didn't want to do med school anymore. I wanted to switch gears and pursue physical therapy, because I want to be the person that can impact the life of another.
Yes.
And, you know, whether it's, you know, in big ways and small ways, it's rewarding for me to see that change and to see that growth and to see them overcome, whether the obstacle is small or big. So that's kind of where I'm at now, pursuing this so that I can provide that service to somebody one day.